Welcome to the Owner's Pride podcast, where we discuss all aspects of auto detailing with successful detailers and industry leaders around the world. From San Diego, California, your host and our friend, Dan E. Williams. Take it away, Danny.
Welcome to the Owner's Pride podcast. I am here with an old friend, Kak Varley. Old. Heck yeah, we're like 50 or something like that. Yeah, old as in old. We go way back to a time where we really weren't friends, but we were acquaintances, and maybe we've played music together. We've argued about stuff, I'm sure. We've worked together in the past on some marketing initiatives, and Owner's Pride has brought Kak in, who now has his own company, Kak Varley Marketing, to do the marketing for Owner's Pride. Kak, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing absolutely wonderful with all these changes going on. It's a little bit stressful because everybody wants to get online and chat and all that, but we're getting through it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like more people are reaching out to you online just because they're maybe working from home and less restricted by being at work, that you have more people actually reaching out to you?
Absolutely, because you got to consider it this way. You know, if you had an office environment, right, you have people there. So what do? They go by a desk, or they go into an office to chat with somebody, whether it's just for social purposes, or, you know, they need to get something done, or they need to have a company meeting, right? Well, that's all changed now, right? Because it's all online, right? So it's interesting because we're so used to wanting to get in front of a customer or a partner, vendor, whatever the case may be. But now we're kind of been pushed into the digital world, right? The digital world was already there for us to use. We just never did it because, culturally speaking, we were always more about face-to-face for a lot of our businesses. And now it's digital. And yeah, I get hit up, you know, I've got 5 different chat systems that go on at the same time. I'm getting hit up all day long on those things, as well as, you know, people want to have meetings. As I was telling you, meetings there are a lot of them, and they go long, you know. That's because people have to connect online.
And, you know, I think I'm an anomaly because I've basically worked from my house and from my home office for almost the last 4 years. So really, as things kind of, you know, hit the fan, not a whole bunch really changed for me, to the point where I felt guilty that I wasn't suffering as so many of my friends and business owners who were, but definitely feel very lucky that was the case.
Yeah, I'm lucky too. But it's interesting because we got a situation again where I used to go to an office and people would jump into the office to talk to me. And then by the end of the day, I'd be like, I never got anything done, right? So then I'd have to go home, you know, spend 45 minutes to an hour. You know, you're out in San Diego area. I'm sure traffic isn't all that great. And you got to spend time in the car to get home. And then you got to finish doing the tasks that you need to get done, right? Yeah. And so working from home was great because you get a ton done, right? Because nobody's just stopping by. Well, yeah, that's the thing now, is everybody's stopping by now, just in the digital sense.
Yeah. You know, that traffic, you're right, San Diego traffic stinks, and it was the worst for me. I would leave my house at about 9 o'clock because when I owned my business, because that would make me miss the morning traffic, but every afternoon I was stuck and it was just horrible. Right. I don't miss that at all. I don't. And you know, I feel if you have some discipline, and I know that's probably funny for me to say to you about me and because of the long history, but if you do have some discipline, you can get more juice out of the berry by having your people working from home. Because literally I wake up at about 7:30 every day, grab a cup of coffee, open my laptop, and I'm at work.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. So a couple things there. I know of a corporation right now that's 16,000 people, employees. They have committed to going 100% work from home. And the reason why they did that is that they discovered that there was a lot more productivity.
Yeah, and I know, like, from my company, we use HubSpot as our CRM, and when I brought that with me, and implemented it so we could really be organized as we built this company from the ground up. And basically, I told my bosses, I'm like, look, I'm giving you an insight to what I'm doing every day, because really all you got to do is click on there and you can make your phone calls, you can send emails. I mean, you can do so much. So I'm sure that any of the larger companies who are doing this aren't just taking word for it from their employees, and they're monitoring it somehow.
Right. They have KPIs, I'm quite sure, and they have a CRM like you're talking about, I'm quite sure, that's tracking a lot of this stuff going on. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
So let's do this. Let's set up a little bit of precedence for why you're the marketing professional that's on this podcast today, and then I know that a lot of the concepts are going to kind of business is business, and they're just going to flow across all different businesses. But specifically for what we're doing right here, we're talking really to a detailed business owner client. So is this what you went to school for? Like, gosh, I don't even remember back in the days when we were like 20, 21, 22 years old, what you were doing. I don't even know what I was doing, to tell you the truth. But was it in marketing at that point?
No, my history actually starts with, of course, my music days. But then I had an opportunity to get into sales, actually. That was a long time ago. It was literally a situation where I was a warehouse grunt, and a sales manager came up to me and said, "Hey, Mike is leaving. Would you be interested in doing sales?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if I could do it." He said, "Oh yeah, you could do it for sure." Right? As it turned out, I actually outsold the other two guys on the team within the first year. So then I was like, I've been in sales since then. What happened?
What were you selling there?
In those days, it was selling CDs and music paraphernalia to retail stores across the country.
Oh, neat.
So we were a wholesaler of music, like cassettes and CDs at that time, before the digital world just ripped that right out of place, So then what happened is, over time, I got involved with, social media was invented essentially. And I got my hands on that. And I thought I could see the future on the social media side. And that's when I got.
Now, are we talking like as far back as MySpace, or was there something before that? Because I know that was.
Exactly.
Okay. So it was with MySpace.
Oh yeah. And, that's when websites, that was all the .com stuff, right? And I've been involved with the marketing side of it ever since then. First, just learning myself, but then working with an agency and really getting an inside view of digital marketing from there. So that's really where I got my education, was working with an agency. I didn't go to school for it.
Yeah. Well, you actually, I think a lot. I used to live next to a professor, and he said that the reason that employers look at people who go to college and can finish college is really not so much for what they've learned there, but it just shows that they can follow through and finish things, which is why a big deal. And a lot of people who go to school don't even end up doing what they went to school for their work.
That's very true. And I belong to this organization. It's called the C-Suite Network, and it's basically a network group for C-level people of companies. And the VP of marketing there, we had a discussion, and he'll tell you that he went to school for marketing, and he didn't learn nearly what he learned until he got into doing digital marketing himself. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And
I felt like he was saying that, and I don't know this to be true, but I felt like he was saying that the school system hasn't really gotten to a place of properly teaching people digital marketing yet. They're still teaching the basics and the principles of marketing, and maybe field marketing, print marketing, media, things like that, broadcasting. But I don't think that they're really doing any kind of deep dive on the digital side.
Well, that's probably because it's such a dynamic, ever-changing target. As new things happen and new concepts. I mean, gosh, there's always a new app that comes out for you to do, your social media stuff, or they change the algorithms, or they shake up the whole snow globe and I don't know why. I guess so nobody. Well, I do know why. Probably because there's more money to be made by doing that than just having a status quo and then having somebody at the top.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, there's always as I like to say, there's always a new shiny object around the corner. But marketing principles are the same. I mean, the marketing principles have been going on since the early 1900s. The things that we do today, marketing-wise, sales-wise, there's nothing new there. It's just now it's in a digital format. In fact, when I talk to people about digital, one of the main things I talk about is like, look, digital is no different than our physical world today. You will do everything, or you should do everything that you do in the digital world that you would do in the physical world. And it's only an extension of our physical world at this point. Because, see, people have a problem. They have a fear, right? I'll give you an example. I remember a long time ago, you remember when online banking came out, right? My father-in-law at the time had told me, we won't do online banking. He was working for a mining company. We won't do online banking. I go, well, why not? And at that time, I was into it. I was actually in one of the first banks that was doing online banking. And I saw the advantage to that, and I just went right for it and got myself an online banking account with them. I believe the company was called Norwest or something like that back in the day. I can't remember. In any case, I asked them, why don't you want to do online banking? Well, I don't want to deal with anybody. I don't want to deal with anything where I don't know where my information is going. Right? Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, well, that makes sense. So you have a fear about that. But let's talk through that. Let me ask you a question. Do you go to restaurants? Yeah, I go to restaurants. Okay, great. So when you're done eating, right, how do you usually pay? Well, I usually pay with a credit card. I go, so a waiter or waitress comes up to you, and do you give them your credit card? Yeah. And then what happens after that? Well, they go in the back, and they charge me for it, and they bring me back the credit card with the receipt. I said, okay. So you're giving your credit card to somebody you don't know. They are taking it to a machine for which you don't know where the information is going, and you don't know what they've done with the card, and then they're bringing that back. And you trust that, but you don't trust online banking.
Hence, ex-father-in-law.
He's actually a really good guy. We're really good friends. But those examples exist everywhere. I see it all the time because everybody thinks that digital is somehow this mysterious place. And it doesn't help anything because a lot of these jokers are out there going, I can make you $1 million tomorrow kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're always like, oh, we got the silver bullet for you over here. But reality is reality. Whether you're in the digital space or you're in the physical space, you have to put the work in. You have to put the time in. If you go out, and I always tell people, if you go out, do you network? Yeah, I network. What do you do? Okay, I go to conferences, events, right? Great. Why don't you do that in the digital side? Well, what do you mean? Well, you don't connect with people online? You don't, send a message or two or set up a meeting or set up a call? You don't join events online? Because that's the thing now, right? Because all conferencing is going to an online format. So you can see in that example, nothing's different. You're doing the same thing, only you're just doing it in a different medium. And by the way, speaking of an extension, I've got a great story about one of the guys, the owner of C-Suite Network. His name's Jeffrey Hazlett, a well-known public speaker. In fact, he was on the Celebrity Apprentice as a judge at one point. And he talks about how he used, and this is why I ended up going into the digital marketing space when I was a sales guy, because you would say to yourself, well, why did you go from sales to digital marketing? Because I saw ways of leveraging my sales with digital. I mean, the greatest example of this is LinkedIn, right?
And so you skipped over any other form, like nothing else turned you on, really. The print or television. I guess maybe television might still be, but I'm just like throwing other examples. Nothing else really piqued your interest like digital itself.
No, you know why? Because there was a low barrier of entry.
Because it was new.
Because it was new, and it didn't cost you anything to get on Facebook or LinkedIn and start connecting with people and network and, all that jazz.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey Hayes had a great example where he does public speaking, and this guy gets thousands of dollars to show up and do a speech. And he wanted to, in particular, get in front of this one company because he knew he could make, let's face it, he knew he could make a lot of money in that speaking engagement. So he wanted to get in front of this company. And now he had been reaching out to a person out there that did all the bookings of that for them, wasn't getting any replies. So then what he decided to do was send an email, digital, right? Email to digital, to the CEO and say, hey, we'd like to interview you for our podcast. Again, podcast, digital, right?
Didn't even know I was participating.
Right. And he goes, and the guy accepted. They did the podcast. He did the interview. He then turned it into an article that was, again, online content. And he goes, hey, we like the interview so much, we turned this into an article. And the reason why they did that was they wanted to give him a way of sharing the podcast interview, right? So they emailed that to him. Sure enough, he passed it around everywhere, including the person that they had been trying to get a hold of. And guess what? That person they were trying to get a hold of ended up calling him and booking an engagement with him. So he was selling, but he was using all the digital tools to get him where he needed to go.
So are you finding that most companies at this point of the game are engaged in digital marketing? Or do you know of any companies who are just, I guess, dinosaur companies that are not engaged?
They're not, and it's unfortunate. I see it all the time. The unfortunate but most current example of this is a restaurant that's just down the way from me. It's an Italian restaurant. They're great. They have a reputation for having bands over the weekend, particularly dance bands. So on Friday and Saturdays, people like to go there and dance, have a good time, have dinner, right? So they acquire people, right? They bring them in. And once you get there, right, their ambiance is really nice inside. Their food is consistently good. And almost 100% of the time, the manager and or owner will stop by and say hi and chat with you, which is a great retention plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this whole thing happens with the pandemic, and now they're probably going to go out of business. Why? They didn't even have a website until I barked at them about it. Then they put up a website, and it wasn't even that great. It didn't match their ambiance. It didn't say anything about it. They didn't have great pictures of the food. They could have done videos with the owner and the manager on the website, but they didn't have a delivery system. They weren't even on DoorDash. They weren't anything like that. So when this all happened, they were truly not prepared for being able to serve the community in a digital sense.
You think it was probably one of the cases where they just like took their, somebody's nephew or something and built a really easy website for him?
Bingo.
That's
exactly what happened.
And second part to that question, do you think that's probably at what percentage of businesses that are new or growing or need to take over that, to get over that hump, do? And And why is it? And then part 3, and then part 79, and then part 3. Why do you think that would be? They just don't want to spend the money, or they just don't understand what it does for them? Okay,
it's back to that mystery and fear thing, right? For some oddball reason, people think that digital space is somewhat of a mystery, and they don't know how to operate in it, right? Or they're just afraid of it. There's a certain fear for people that they don't want to go there, right? It's some other thing. But that's where we have to change our thoughts. As businesses as a whole, we need to change our thoughts because it's not any different. And people are like worried about fraud. Yeah, fraud is up right now, about 40%.
It's really more a matter of when, not if. Somebody's going to get your credit card and you're going to get some charges on there. I mean, it's happened to me a few times. It's
right.
Just be vigilant and check your account.
Like again, I can give you another example in the physical world where you could get held up, or somebody could pickpocket you, or somebody could steal something out of your car. Okay, does that mean you don't go to the restaurant? You don't get in your car or you don't have a car? No, you just are more aware. And so that's all you really need to do is just be more aware. I told you my example where I actually got caught. And now I'm in a digital space and I got caught with fraud.
Hey, wait, you did, and you can tell it again. And then I'm going to say, I just got the same thing, and it was from a Chinese thing. And we just won the case because it went through PayPal, and they gave me my money back.
Right. So yeah, I found this gym equipment because I work out all the time. I was building my gym in the garage, and I found this thing for $20, and it was awesome. I was like, yeah, let's do this, right? But I didn't check, right? Just like, that sounds good. Paid through PayPal, right? And then what do I get in the mail like 2 weeks later? A rubber band. I bought a $20 rubber band. But when I went back on it, and this is why when you get into the digital space, you want to do it safely and successfully. When I went back on it, I realized that their Facebook ad or their Facebook page was different than their website, which was different than their cart. Nothing was matched on. It was all different names. And then they were using PayPal. So it wasn't like an inline purchase. It was like I was taken out of the environment and brought back in. And it was just, and then I realized I basically traced it down to some company out of China. And that's what it came down to. And by the way, to make matters worse, I went back to them to get my money back. And they're like, well, we'll give you half of it if you want.
PayPal didn't take care of you?
So I went to PayPal, and PayPal didn't take care of it because I didn't do it through my account. I did it as a guest. Right? So finally, though, my credit card actually helped me out. So they helped me out, and they refuted charges and wiped them out. So, but I kept all the information. I had a good amount of proof for them to show them that it was fraudulent. So they were willing to support me on that. But to take this back to marketing, if you're going to go in the digital space, do it right. Have brand consistency. Don't have your stuff all over the place. Make sure, what I mean?
And the funny thing is, even if you don't do it right, your story is proof positive that it can still work, even with a very half-heartedly attempt at marketing, because they got you and they got me. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what kind of Kak Varley marketing? What kind of businesses are you currently working with?
Well, we got a massage client. I've got a client that does psychotherapy. We've got a very big company. It's a franchise that I can't really mention the name of. Or let's just say they do ice cream. And we'll keep it at that. A law firm. Some clients I've worked with in the past. There's a commercial contractor in town that I've worked with. And I'm trying to remember some other ones, but off the top of my head, I can't remember so much going on.
Okay. And now you're foraying. Is that a word? Foraying? Is that entering? Yeah, foraying?
Yeah, foraying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and now you're foraying back into some of the auto detailing and auto detailing chemical world.
Yeah.
and which is pretty exciting. And you have a bit of experience in that, so it should be helpful. So when you see a new company that comes to you, so let's kind of just make this conceptually and start kind of turning it towards, not so much like tips and tricks where you're going to give somebody the full roadmap, but let's kind of start to do an overview for maybe the detailing businesses or other small businesses who would be listening to this, and just kind of set up the runway or the steps that kind of would get them, that you would do with somebody to get them on the path to success.
Yeah. So as I like to tell people, one, we got 25 plus years in sales experience, right? Two, we've got 25 plus years in digital marketing experience. Okay. But that's the third thing that really counts. We've owned businesses, multiple businesses. So we have a good understanding of what it means to even be a small business owner that wears many hats: accounting, payroll, taxes, ordering inventory, managing people, customer service, marketing, so on and so forth. We know we have a very good grasp at businesses. So that's our biggest differentiator, isn't it? As you experienced, we didn't come in with just, hey, we can do your website, right? Mm-hmm. And then just try to ride that train. No, that's not what we do. We sit down with customers and get a really true understanding of the business as a whole, right?
That was probably what played out well for you, because we interviewed multiple marketing companies, and the larger companies just came in going for the throat. We want to redo everything from the ground up. Everything that you have we're going to redo it, and that just wasn't going to work.
Right, and you hear it all the time, and I get that. When I do work with a new client, I get that all the time. People are tired of hearing it. People are really tired of hearing, well, you got to redo everything.
Is that just a company being overly aggressive and greedy, trying to really do it, or they maybe see so much flaws that they're like, Jesus Lord, we got to start this thing over from the beginning?
There's multiple reasons why. One might be just because they have a viewpoint on how things should go. Two, maybe they're only using certain tools to be able to support you.
Oh, so they can't help you.
Right. So for instance, you're a WordPress site. Maybe they're Drupal, and they wouldn't be able to help you unless you basically converted your website to Drupal, which would be a full rebuild of the website. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you have these businesses that want to scale, right? So they want sort of the unfortunate piece is they want to do sort of a one size fits all kind of program. They don't want to do any customization. They just want to do what they do and how they do it. A greatest example is that we have a person that we're talking to right now who's a mortgage broker. And he's doing advertising through a company. And basically he's signed up. He's paying all his money per month. He's getting some leads, but not a lot. But their whole structure is, this is how we do it. We do this, that, and the other. And he doesn't own any of his own content. He doesn't own any of his own assets, right? And they just push the button and it goes and it does this thing. So they don't have to actually do a lot of work. So he's paying a monthly fee for something that they're not really even having to work on, And,
is there a way for somebody who has a marketing company working for them to hold them accountable? Or are there some businesses that it doesn't matter how much you give it your all as a marketing company, that you're just like, well, this business is so janky that there's nothing I can do to help?
There can be that. I mean, we can't help this guy, but it's going to mean he's got to set up everything. Like we've talked to you about the way you got to set up things to be successful. Well, he would need to agree to that in order for that to happen. But yeah, I mean, what it comes down to actually is it's not about necessarily what is being done as to whether we can do it too, because 9 times out of 10 we can. it comes down to really more of a value system, like, because this guy that I'm talking about right now, he might just want to do advertising that's it, but he doesn't understand that there's more to it. And if we can't reach him to help him understand that there's more to this than just putting money towards a Facebook ad, then we're not going to be able to convert him, right? So again, it's more of a mindful thing that has to happen when you're talking about this kind of business. Because like you said, there are people that just don't, again, fear, mysticism, non-believers. You've got friends like that, right? You got friends that are like, here's the craziest thing. Here's the greatest one. I've got 2 friends right now that literally left Facebook. They're like, I'm leaving Facebook because ever since that information came out that they were collecting your information for advertising,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, I'm off of Facebook. and guess what? They're on Instagram. And Facebook owns Instagram.
All you got to do is just talk in front of your telephone, and remarketing ads start popping up,
right,
on things. It's crazy. Like you don't even have to punch a button.
Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge we have. It's not about what we can and can't do. It's about where is that person at when it comes to that part of the marketing, digital marketing. And that's where it can be challenged, because some people are just non-believers. They're like, I don't want to know about that. So, and those people tend to be the ones that are looking for a silver bullet because they want the easy button. They're like, hey, just run me an ad. I should make $100,000 with that, right? It's like, that's not. There's a lot more to it than that.
So I know, like, the guy who bought my business, Dustin, he uses Marketing 360, which is a large company.
Okay.
And they blow it up for him. They're doing really good. And I believe also there are some one of our competitors uses that company. And maybe they're known for having a lot of the same content. My point is, the way that you are shaping up to work with us is in a way that seems more mature and more organized across an entire spectrum than anything that I'm seeing done with any of the other companies. And I don't really want to give away all of everything that we're doing, you know what I mean? So you don't want to, and I don't want to, but I do want to just kind of have you give an overview of what you do when a company comes to you, be it a smaller business, like a detailing company, or maybe a business larger, like a jewelry store or somebody selling chemicals like we are. Just kind of take through how you develop a marketing strategy for a company, if we can do that without getting too...
I can even take you through the sales process too, because that might be helpful as well, because we do have a process in our sales cycle.
Okay.
So the very first thing I'm going to do, and this is the way we stage, because we too use HubSpot. So we set up our deals to have these stages in there, because we felt that these stages were probably the most common things that we do to get to a sale.
Yep. And I just want to stop you for 1 second. So for you guys who have a detailing business out there and you are not using a CRM of any kind, I know that that Michael, whatever, I can't think of his last name at the moment, but he has the Urable, which is a CRM that's and a sales tool that's made just for detailing, which sounds like it's really cool and it has a lot of functionality. You can get so much stuff done on HubSpot, even on the free version. I really highly recommend, and I do not know how anyone can run any kind of a business without using a CRM. So I just want to really recommend that you try something out to keep yourself organized. Okay, I'll be quiet again. Sorry.
And it's where it houses your data for your customers. I mean, it's huge. You absolutely need it.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll start off with an intent call. So like you and me, Dan, we'd get on the call. We'd start talking about what are the needs, what do you got going on, where are we at, what's the compelling event that's driving this. sort of thing and see where your intent is, right? I'm talking to you and I'm finding out, are you a believer in digital? Are you not a believer in digital? Where are you at today, right? So that we call it an intent call internally, but it's really just a qualification call. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then we'll take that, if everything works out there, then we'll take it to what we call a trust call, which then is when I bring in my partner, as you well witnessed, and we start talking about business. Immediately, we don't talk about the solutions yet. We talk about the business. What's your business? How is it sold? How much you making? What's the average sale? What's the sales cycle? Who are you selling to? What's your audience look like? Things of that nature. And then we'll start brainstorming some ideas on what would be the best fit for you. And again, that's a differentiator for us. Because like you described earlier, an agency or a one-size-fits-all program is going to say, you got to do it all. Boom, here it is. Or if you have a point player, which is like a web designer or something, they're going to say, oh, you need a website. But they don't have any peripheral on all the other things that connect with, right?
Old bull, young bull. That's what I was thinking when I was listening to the presentation. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So then that goes well. Now we take it to, which again you witnessed, the prescription call. We call it a prescription, just like a doctor. Here's your symptoms. We understand them from the last call. Here's what we prescribe to you and typically we'll do 3 months, the first 3 months. And then we'll look at 6 month, 12 month down the road kind of thing. But we look at the first 3 months where we need to be to get to the next 3 months. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's all a little bit different because usually people want a retainer and they're like, okay, here we go. We're going to do all this stuff now. But they don't really have a milestone plan like we do. Then now you're experiencing, now we're doing all the onboarding, right? We got to get all the information, get everything set up, ready to go, and then begin that 3 month plan. So that's generally how we work as an operation.
Mm-hmm. And then are there certain steps that you're going to do 1, 2, and 3 to start identifying, I would imagine, the customers? First you clean house, then start identifying their customers, or?
Well, we can do a persona. I think what you're reaching for there is the persona development piece of this.
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get an overview for people who, may not have fully conceptually, they might think about marketing. They might be doing their own videos. They might be doing some Instagram and Facebook pushing. But I really kind of want to show what working with a real marketing company, kind of some of the steps that differentiate that experience. And, right. And then, as we get through that, then I kind of want to talk about what the difference at the end is, potentially going to be from businesses that you've worked with. Like what kind of a boost to, the bottom line and to web traffic and all that.
Right. So, when we take, once we onboard somebody, we could get into, like we talked about, where we could do an exercise with golfers. People in the marketing world call it persona development. Of course, marketing people always have to give a fancy word for something, which is really just a customer analysis. So we can actually interview customers, record all those conversations, transcribe them, analyze them, and deliver information on what their likes, don't likes, goals, challenges, all the where they look for information to find out, how they would even begin to discover you and things of that nature, and then come up with a customer journey, or what we call as a customer value journey map, to take them through from awareness, engagement, conversion, and then so on, till you get them to a point of being an advocate for your business. Because once you've got that person as an advocate for your business, that costs you no money in marketing at all.
And that's where they just become, somebody who's talking well about your products.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then, I think a lot, I don't know that everybody does as much of that front end work. I think that Again, and so great examples. I have a customer right now. We ended up getting her because she had a web person, and then she had a
a copyright person, and they were all separate, and they weren't working together. They were all just doing their thing, right? They didn't have a full perspective on what was going on with her business, right? And then we came through, and this is another thing that we do too that I unfortunately did not mention earlier, is we do an assessment. Part of that prescription is that we do an assessment of what every company owns today in their digital assets, websites, social media, anything that's going to be digital. We're taking a look at everything in total, holistically, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our differentiator is, without a doubt.
All right.
And then that prescription is customized to that type of business, because that's another thing, is every business is different. Every business has different goals. I mean, you could generally say, yeah, we all want to make money. Yeah, but there are specific business goals and how you want to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we follow along with those goals so that we're a part. So I think this is the key, so that we're part of the team. We're not just an outfit.
You know, that's a big thing that we're doing with everybody that we're working with, and we don't even call them our customers anymore. We call the businesses that we work with profit partners, because when they're doing well, we're doing well.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that.
So, okay, so you get everything dialed in, then how do you start the implementation? And is that just a full foot pedal to the metal on everything, or then do you start trying different things?
Right now we're in that space where we got to get everything set up and cleaned up, right? And we are pedal to the metal right now. I've got a laundry list of things to do once I'm done with this call, actually. So we got to get everything set up, and then we got to start executing on the plan, and whatever plan that's going to be. Then we start executing on delivering content, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever that is, for you, it's different than another person. Some people are focused on advertising. Some people are focused on websites. Some people are focused on social media, or the combination of all three, So there you have it.
That was a very high-pitched 3.
Yeah, I know. You maybe want to edit that. I'm not quite sure.
No way, man. Oh, okay, so let's say that we were talking about a detailing business specifically. So this is a guy who either they're mobile or they have a shop. You've gotten their persona, you've gotten their journey map, you know what they're going after, you know who their customer is. You help do the cleanup on the back end to get everything, the house in order. And now you're going to start moving forward. What are you going to start doing with that detail business?
Well, that's difficult to say, Dan, because we don't know what the prescription was for that business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to say, if this prescription was, we need our website working, our social media, and the goal is to bring customers, obviously we would create a plan for that, get everything ready to go and cleaned up, and then start executing on whatever that plan is. It could be building content on the website. It could be, publishing on social media. It could be advertising on social media and bring people in, but it just depends. And the reason why it depends is also there's a money quotient to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We might not have all the money in the world to just throw out there and do everything that would be considered to be the best in terms of getting their digital marketing working for them. So sometimes that's why we do a 3-month thing too. It's because we don't believe in coming in and just doing everything out of the gate. What we want to do is the most pressing things. We want to prioritize, right?
Is there some kind of a formula that you need to spend X amount of your gross per month to equal X amount of new business?
It's interesting. I think that whole game has changed. Back in the days, it was considered you were supposed to put 20% of your budget into marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that to be true. I think it could be more. I think it could be less. And again, it depends on what kind of business you are. I've seen businesses spend a lot more because they're sales companies. They're through sales companies. So they'll spend a lot more money on marketing. But then there's other people that are like maybe service company or something like that wouldn't put as much money in that space. They're all different. And the game, and with the digital world, it's changed the game. There's no there's no real. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are sometimes minimums that are for sure a point at which you have to start to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is that, but it's all over the board. And you can see, just by the number of different customers or kinds of customers that I've talked to you about here, every single one of those customers is completely different than the other. So it's really down, and really it comes down to like a detail owner, right? Detail shop owner. It's up to the owner. What do they want? What are their business goals, right?
Yeah, I guess theoretically you could advertise too hard and have too much business. What do you think that's a good problem to have?
Well, that's not always true either, because you have to know what's applicable. Okay? If I was to use an example, traditionally your Twitter and your LinkedIn would be social media outlets that are B2B.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you could make the argument that Facebook and Instagram are more B2C. Right? Now that the lines are becoming very blurred anymore on that, but as of a year or two ago, that was generally what was going on. So if you were a B2B business, well, you would want to be on LinkedIn and Twitter, possibly.
Yeah.
And if you were a consumer business where consumers are buying products from you, you definitely want to be on Facebook and Instagram. And that's just one example. And there are many. So, yeah, that's another thing, too, is we don't want to waste money on something that's just not going to be worthy to that business. The big thing right now is TikTok. You see it all the time with the TikTok stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just an amplification platform. That is not an engagement platform, really. So, you're not going to be able to sell anything on there. Like, you guys have products.
I guess that's just a brand name recognition platform.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, of course, that could change. TikTok might, and it's already changed.
And brand name recognition is huge in its own right. I mean,
right. But then it comes. But then you got to ask yourself, what are the real results? If I put all my business towards TikTok, what would be the real results of that platform? We don't know. We'd have to decide if the business is good for that platform first and foremost. And then we could try it. And that's the thing about digital marketing. It's all about trying things too. If you're doing well at something, that's great. But then you always want to experiment and see what goes on. Like in my business, I'm always experimenting with I'm on every app you could ever imagine. All you got to do is look up Kak Varley on almost anything. And I do have a profile there. And it's mainly because in my own business, this is why I don't have, I essentially experiment with everything. So I'm acquainted with all the different platforms out there to see how they work and where they might be applicable to business.
What do you see as the maybe the biggest pitfalls or mistakes that a company makes in digital marketing, and maybe the biggest victory or safest path that you can go down?
Well, I'd say the biggest mistake is basically when they don't have the right mindset, meaning they think it's going to be some trick that's going to make them a bunch of money. And that's just not the reality. It takes time. It takes energy to do it. There is no trick here. It's you got to put in the time and the energy to make it successful, just like anything else we do in this world. I don't care what it is. It could be your relationships. It could be anything. You got to put in the time and the energy to get something out of it. What you put in is what you get out. You know that phrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest successes I see is when people are listening, are open, and understand that it's going to take time, and they will get results. I have a massage client. We set that thing up so that people, we discovered in her business how to make her business more efficient on an administrative level. So what we did is we put her services on that site so that people could purchase right from there and make an appointment with her right from there. Her business doubled. Her business doubled because why? Because when we talked to her about it, we said, and specifically when we talked about her clients, she was doing a really good job of retaining clients by always being in contact with them and really doing a lot of work for them, right? Mm-hmm. And we said, well, why don't we make it easy? You got that squared away in the physical world, but why don't we make it easy? You're making it easy for them there. Why don't we make it easy for them on your website? And then when we turned that thing on, I swear to you, within a month, it was she had appointments going, and by the way, to the point where she asked us to turn it off for a bit of time because she was getting too busy.
That's good,
right? And then we put gift certificates on there for people as well. So basically, what we did is we made a website useful. Right? Because just being an online brochure isn't cutting it anymore. Especially now that people have to be in the digital world. They're not just going to a website to read it. It has to have value. Because anytime you reach a site, we're all doing the same thing. We're saying, so what? Right? Mm-hmm. But you got to make it useful. I talk about this all the time with clients. We talk about websites and social media as a way of acquisition, but we often forget the importance of retention. So think about this. What if you were able to serve up your invoicing online for customers so that they could pay right from the website? Would that be useful? Yeah. It makes their job easier, right? They just go to the website, they log in, pay the bill, boom, they're done, they're out. Everybody's happy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's a good way of retaining clients. That's just one idea of many. So that's the thing, is that digital world is also changing where it has to be more useful. Tips and tricks, good luck. What needs to happen is people want to get things done online now.
And I think another really important thing is that your mobile site and your regular site, what is the difference in that? Are more people are going to mobile than they are to their computer? I know personally I can't hardly do any of the stuff that I can do on mobile as I can on the computer, so I'm much happier to be on my laptop when I need to post something or share something or do something. I'm very frustrated with the telephone, but from what I understand, that's a bigger platform now.
Right. So what I'm seeing, this is based on my analytics for kPod.com. Everything pre-pandemic was a huge growth in mobile, right? And this is why Google changed everything up as one of the qualifications of being able to be ranked higher, on Google, was that you had to have a mobile-friendly site because they knew that people were on the road, right? Mm-hmm. Pre-pandemic, so people are on the road doing face-to-face meetings. And what's the one computer device they have in front of them all the times? Mobile, right? And now it's looking like an Apple Watch, for God's sake. So, since the pandemic, it's been interesting. I've seen a huge uptick now in my desktop traffic.
Saw these people working from home.
They're all working from home on a desktop or laptop, right? So now that's picking up again, which is very interesting to see.
So I guess in that case, and this is maybe not necessarily for their productivity, but if they're sitting at home and they're working on their computer, it's easier to start looking stuff up and not go to your phone to look it up and just have multiple windows open.
Right. Well, the phones, they live in the app world. What I predict in the future is that, and it's already sort of happening in certain instances, but apps, because we live in the app world on our phones and websites from our desktop, or laptops, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be a convergence of the two come a decade. We will eventually not have one or the other. It will be one.
So you just click on an icon in lieu of...
That's where I see it.
So you would just click on an icon in lieu of putting in www.
Right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Exactly.
Huh.
That's where I see this whole thing going.
Well,
right now you want to be in the digital. I mean, the greatest thing about this is that the silver lining on all this pandemic stuff is that it's really forced people to go into the digital world. It's always been there. It's always been readily available to you. And what you do there, again, is no different than what you do in the physical world. It's just now that everybody's there, it's going to have a lot more value. Like right now, you can read all the studies. Online purchasing is at an all-time high right now because
it has to be.
Because it has to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be there, that's for sure. And even if we go back to the physical world, like say fully, man, I'll tell you, you'd be making a big mistake if you didn't have a scalable approach to be able to go digital in case this happens again.
So from all the way at the beginning of our conversation, you said you got into digital marketing when it was brand new, and right. Now is it larger now than the other forms of marketing? And are there other components that are not digital that you recommend for? And maybe this is going to be business dependent also.
Well, I don't think anything ever goes away. And I think that's what you're heading towards. Digital is just another part of the marketing portfolio. You'll have direct marketing. I still get mail, sales pamphlets or whatever. I still get that in the mail. We're still having commercials. It just changes. There's commercials on TV, but now there's commercials, on podcasts, right? Magazines, believe it or not, there's still magazines out there, and you would have thought that went away. Although I know that a lot of magazines went away, but there's still
a lot of them went digital.
A lot of them went digital, right? So I don't subscribe to the idea that all of a sudden digital is going to take over the world and nothing else is going to exist. I don't believe that to be true. I just believe that it's going to be a part of our normal lives. It already is. But in terms of marketing, it's going to be a part of our normal lives. It won't be, I don't think businesses that start off today will have the opportunity to say, no, we're just going to be a physical shop now. They won't have that opportunity anymore. The cost of doing business will be, the entry to get into business will be, you will have to have a digital part of your marketing plan.
They just found out how crushed they can be by having that mentality. That's unfortunately exactly for a lot of companies.
That's exactly it. But, you take that, for instance, I told you about that Italian restaurant that is possibly going to go out of business, right? Because they just were not set up digitally at all, like zero.
Mm-hmm.
But then you take a look at Chipotle. Man, those guys on a dime, they flipped their app to doing free delivery when this stuff came around. And I've been ordering from those guys, and they deliver it for free. Because, again, why? They made it easy. That's what this is all about, is making it easy for your clients. In almost every single sense, doesn't matter if it's acquisition or if it's retention. Really what it comes down to is, are you making it easy for your clients?
Well, in the book Story Brand, that's like one of the biggest concepts that came through for me. Like, it's not even necessarily the best product in the world that wins all the time, but whatever is the easiest and burns the least amount of mental calories for a customer to understand and take action and buy something. That's who wins. That's why sometimes you see poopy products that are, doing way better than a really great product.
Right. Right. And if you have to call, like, there's been restaurants that we've ordered from, we won't order from them right now. And we love them, but they just make it too hard. we got to get on the phone with them. There's no online. I can't order it online. Or even if it is online, it's like, well, if we have a special diet, now we got to figure, now we can't do the special diet. We have to call it in. And then if we call it in, now we got to pick it up, and it's just, it's just, there's a better way. They could do that a lot better.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here's, I want to kind of, we're just about time to wrap it up, but I want to start thinking about this concept, and this is a little project that we can do together. And I wanted to do this before at a company that I worked, but it just never really seemed to materialize. And that is, I would like to have a jingle that we have on all of our, that tags onto all of our videos and our social media stuff. And you see all of the really big companies have it, your Budweisers, your Get a Piece of the Rock, they all have a little jingle. And we both play music, and I think that at some point this needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And as a matter of fact, I have a jingle. I have an intro, outro for my I'm actually coming up with a podcast as well.
Nice.
For which you will be a guest at some point. So I'm building that right now. But it's my music.
Yeah.
So,
every
have your own music on there,
Every bit of the music that I used on any podcast I've ever done, and I've done, probably 2.5 years of podcasting, has all been from albums that I've recorded on. Like every single intro, outro, the interludes in between is really fun. But maybe we'll get Skinny Jim back together and make this a jingle for Owner's Pride.
Yeah, now if you can get into a studio, it's like I don't have my own recording equipment. I mean, I have GarageBand or something like that, but
Adam Carter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's right by. He's right by.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
All right, we're getting off here though. Yeah. So okay, we're gonna have you back on. I think that we should touch base, especially as we're working with you, maybe every couple months or something, just to sort of see how it goes and sort of show your journey of Kak Varley marketing. And I believe that's kakvarley.com.
Yep. KAK, V as in Victor, ARLEY.com.
All right. So, check it out. You're going to see Owner's Pride exploding with business over the coming months. And kakvarley.com is who we're doing it with. And thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to be on the Owner's Pride podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for listening to the Owner's Pride podcast. Questions and comments, suggestions, leave them for us on the Owner's Pride podcast Facebook page. Marketing, you got to do it. Do it. Until next time, stay glossy.
We hope you've enjoyed today's presentation of the Owner's Pride podcast. To learn more about our products, become an authorized installer, or to get a quote, visit ownerspride.com.